Hey, good morning, friends. I'm just going to do a quick video before I head off to work. This is something I've been looking into for quite a while, and it deals with who God is, the character of God. And I think if we don't have a right grasp of who God is, um, well, our whole Christian experience will be, um, well, it can be really tough because our perspective and what we think about God and how we relate to Him is based on the picture that we have of Him. Um, so I'd like to start in Luke chapter 9 and read a few verses to you. Um, 51 through 56. Now it came to pass, when the time had come for him to be received up, that he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem, and sent messengers before his face. And as they went, they entered the village of the Samaritans to prepare for him. But they did not receive him, because his face was set for the journey to Jerusalem. And when his disciples James and John saw this, they said, Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, as Elijah did? But he turned and rebuked them, and says, You do not know what manner of spirit you are of. For the Son of Man did not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went on to another village. Okay, and this is, you know, quite a ways into the 3.5 years of ministry that Christ did here on earth. And you have his disciples, James and John, still thinking that somehow Christ would want to call fire down from heaven and destroy people. Okay, they really didn't have a concept of his character, of who he was. Not yet. I think that came to become a realization after the resurrection, and after he spent those 40 days with them, and the Holy Spirit came into their hearts, and then he was fully revealed to them who he was. Um, there's another little quote from a book called The Desire of Ages, which turns out to be the Library of Congress's #1 book on the life of Christ. It says that it is no part of Christ's mission to compel men to receive him. It is Satan and men actuated by his spirit that seek to compel the conscience. There can be no more conclusive evidence than we that we can there can be no more conclusive evidence that we possess the spirit of Satan than the disposition to hurt and destroy those who do not appreciate our work or who act contrary to our ideas. Okay, so James and John were thinking, okay, they didn't accept Christ, so Jesus, why don't you send fire down from heaven and destroy them? And that's why Jesus says, you don't know what the spirit you are of. And Peter had the same experience, because he says, Jesus, no, this isn't going to happen. You're not going to go up to Jerusalem and be crucified. I believe that's what they were talking about then. And Jesus turns around and rebukes him. He says, get thee behind me, Satan. Um, Christ came and he had a mission, and I believe the mission was to reveal who God really is to us. There's been several times that they wanted to take Christ and forcibly put him on the throne to break the yoke that the Romans had over the Jewish nation. And he says, no, that is not why I came. He even told Pilate, he says, my kingdom's not of this world. Kingdoms of this world, they want to conquer and constantly conquer and lift themselves up over others, and people be, servants to them. Christ came to serve. I mean, he took the towel off of him and washed his disciples' feet. That's the power of the gospel, or the kingdom that Christ came to preach. It's to serve others. And I think having a right concept of who God is everything. If we don't have that foundation, our whole experience is going to show it. And so, um, one other thought, and that is that when Satan rebelled in heaven, God could have just snuffed him out. And it makes me think that if he would have done that, if he would have snuffed Satan out and took him out of existence because he rebelled or thought differently of his kingdom, um, what would that have done in the minds of the other angels? It would have caused them to maybe doubt, to maybe think, well, did God do that because Satan was onto something? Maybe he was right. And God didn't want that. He wants his creatures to worship him out of love and trust. And so God has let this great controversy play out over the millennium about which side is the best. Okay, I don't know how else to put it, but is it the side that Satan promoted um, his ideas about how to run a kingdom, or is it God's? God is the God of way. He's a way of love, and He wants us to worship Him out of love. Satan's way is a way of coercion and manipulation, and we have a choice to make, and we're actually God's jury. We are promoting Him and His character when we're Christians, and we're taking a stand on which side we want to serve. And the world's watching, you know. The world is watching this great controversy in other worlds. They're watching this great controversy play out here on earth. And you know, um, it would have been out of character for God to just destroy Satan right then and there. And so he didn't. He couldn't do that. He had to let this play out and for us to make a choice. And so, you know, let's not look at God as James and John did and think that he wants to destroy men. He doesn't want to do that. He says that for the Son of Man did not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. Okay, so I think we need to take courage from that, and it will transform our lives if we understand who God is. And you know, if an idea or a theology comes into our mind and it's contradictory towards God's character of who He really is, then we need to get rid of it. It doesn't belong. Satan's constantly trying to take his attributes and put them on God, and you know, it's a sad thing, but a lot of Christianity has taken those lies, and they've taken those lies and they've put them into their experience, and so they have a false picture of who God is. That God would actually burn sinners, immortalize sinners, and then burn them forever. You know, that's just one example of an idea or a teaching that is opposite of who God really is. You know, that's just not who He is. And there's others, but I think we need to bounce that off of the life of Christ. What did He show us? You know, He says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So the perfect representation of who God is Jesus. God wrapped in flesh came down here to show us who He was. And I believe that the clearest picture of who God is how He ministered to people, how He treated people. And I think that love will draw us to do the same thing. So anyway, I better end this, guys. Have a good morning. I'm going to head off to work, and it's going to be another beautiful day in Wyoming. So I hope you guys have a good day. God bless, and enjoy your day. Take care.